This is Autoline Daily, the show that is dedicated to all of you enthusiasts for the global automotive industry. Sean's off today and I'm filling in to deliver the news, and man, oh man, used car prices are going through the roof. They were up 10% in April and another 7% on top of that in May. In fact, used car prices now account for 1/3 of the increase in the overall inflation rate in the United States. But now it looks like prices are starting to come down. Bloomberg reports that auction prices at Manheim have peaked and that prices of used cars should start to drop in just a matter of weeks. And that should drag down the overall U.S. inflation rate. Even so, the price rise has been shocking. Cox Automotive reports that the average used car with about 67,000 miles on it, that's about 107,000 kilometers, that now costs $24,400. At franchise dealerships, used cars cost even more, about $26,000. And remember, a year ago, the average used car was selling for about $19,000. Korea, Taiwan, and Thailand are about to get hit with higher U.S. tariffs on imported tires. The U.S. International Trade Commission says U.S. tire manufacturers are being harmed by imports from those countries because they're being sold for below cost. So the U.S. Commerce Department will issue anti-dumping duties on tires for passenger vehicles and light trucks from Korea, Taiwan, and Thailand. Vietnam is on the list too, but it's not dumping as much. The U.S. imported $4.4 billion in tires from those countries in 2020. The Commerce Department opened an investigation in response to petitions from the United Steelworkers Union, which represents a number of tire companies in the U.S.
The world is changing at an ever-increasing pace. No matter what the mode of transportation, there is always the need for an efficient propulsion system. And that's exactly what BorgWarner has been doing since the earliest days of the automotive industry.
We want to know what drives your testing. OTA, connected car, diagnostics, remote testing. Intrepid Control Systems is here to help you work from anywhere. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.
Boy, Infiniti sure was not joking when it said the QX60 monograph concept vehicle hinted at the production version's future design. All you have to do is add some door handles to the concept, and you've practically got the all-new QX60. Styling is highlighted by a larger grille and front air curtains, thin LED running lights in the front and rear, and blacked-out pillars surrounded by bright accent striping that seems to fade off into nothingness. Sticking with styling for the moment, the interior is a big departure from the current model. It looks much more sophisticated because inside, this top-of-the-line model features a quilted diamond pattern throughout, even on the dashboard. The thin 12.3-inch display is actually standard on all models, and there's also an option for an all-new 10.8-inch head-up display. Mechanically, the QX60 is based on the Nissan Pathfinder. Power still comes from the same 3.5-liter V6 that makes 295 horsepower, with an all-new 9-speed automatic and optional all-wheel drive, which is available on all trim levels. That setup is able to tow up to 6,000 pounds, which is a 20% improvement. The all-new 3-row, 7-passenger QX60 arrives in North America later this year, while the Nissan Pathfinder is on sale right now. And sticking with new car reveals, the new Honda Civic hatchback made its official debut last night. The big difference from the sedan is that it's available with a 6-speed manual, which can be paired to both the naturally aspirated 2-liter or to a turbocharged 1.5-liter engine. The other option is a CVT. Rear-end styling still features lighting that stretches across the car, but it's less attention-grabbing than on the current hatchback. Speaking of that hatch, it's now made of a composite material, which not only reduces weight, but it allowed Honda to use smaller hinges that help clean up the roofline. And for the first time, the Civic hatchback will be built at Honda's plant in Indiana, with production scheduled to kick off later this year. And it might surprise you as to how important the hatchback is for Honda in the U.S. It accounts for over 20% of all Civic sales. Say, why should you pay for insurance on your car when it's just parked? Even though many businesses are opening back up, there's still a lot of people working from home, which means they're driving a lot less. So Ford in the UK is offering a pay-as-you-drive insurance program. Customers with vehicles that have an embedded modem will be able to sign up for the policy online. Then they have to accept a prompt on the vehicle's screen that they're willing to share their distance data. Ford says that 51% of its customers could save nearly £260 a year on their insurance bill using pay-as-you-drive, and that is about $360. In other Ford news, it underestimated the EPA range for the performance versions of the Mustang Mach-E. It originally estimated that the Mach-E GT and GT Performance would go 250 and 235 miles respectively. But the new EPA estimates put the GT at 270 miles and the GT Performance at 260. Both vehicles feature a dual motor setup with an upgraded secondary motor that pushes output to 480 horsepower. The GT will go from 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds, while the GT Performance, with slightly more torque and standard summer tires, will go 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. Ford did not give any reason why the range came out better than it expected.
Mobility is becoming electric, connected and autonomous, just like the manufacturing world. But will always be one thing: a reliable partner for our customers.
President Biden wants to see the United States develop its own supply chain of critical materials. And that's the topic on our television show, Autoline This Week. We asked Jack Lifton, an expert on rare earth minerals, whether the United States can develop its own supply chain. Currently, the auto industry relies almost completely on China for those materials. Here's what he had to say.
The U.S. could actually be independent of China for rare earths. Our total use per year is about 10 or 12,000 tons of earth permanent magnets. 2/3 of that is by the automotive industry. That's the industry that needs these things the most. The United States has the capability to provide that. Well, what we don't have is any existing processing capacity. There's no point to developing a mine in the United States if it's just to supply China. So this has been why private equity has not been interested in this area. With the latest White House directive, so to speak, in the response, it's possible that the federal government will step in here. And quite frankly, there are quite a few federal solicitations out right now asking people to test out systems for separating rare earths, making metals and alloys, and then report on the economics of them. So that's the Department of Defense and the Department of Energy are both very much involved in this. The thing everybody has to remember is that it takes years once you've modeled something and you say, we can do it, even if you're subsidized, we're years and years away from this.
Man, there's a ton of great information on that show about critical materials, and you can watch it on our website or our YouTube channel. And a programming note here, Autoline After Hours is off this week, but we will be back next week with Trevor Scott, the marketing manager, and Chris Mazer, the chief program engineer for the all-new Ford Maverick pickup truck. I, for one, cannot wait to learn more about this truck. So Put your thinking cap on. If you've got questions you would like us to ask them, send us an email at viewermail@autoline.tv. And that wraps up today's report. Thanks for watching.
AutoLine Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, solutions for your journey. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering, boost your game. Borg-Warner, propulsion solutions that support a clean, energy-efficient world. And by Schaeffler, we pioneer motion.